All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is June 10th, 2026. My name is Coach Kerrigan, lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. That's a day trading service for the hit and run candlesticks family. Let's take a look at the markets today. Only captured 1,700 today. Kind of a tough day. A lot of volatility priced into the market after that big red day a couple days ago. So it was not easy to make my gains this morning or this afternoon. A lot of whipsaw action. So let's push this over and let's take a look at the market. And we'll start off with SPY. And on a 10-minute chart, let's move this out of the way. Let's pick up a clean one. Okay, so on the 10-minute chart, you got a 10-minute downtrend. Picture of money right here on SPY, picture of money. PPO minus 0.10. So you can see definitely less than 0.06, 0.05. So minus 0.07, minus 0.08, 09, minus 0.1. So bearish coming into the close. So 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. 2-hour chart. Again, you got the sticks and the 3 riding underneath the falling 8. 2-hour downtrend coming into the close on SPY. On the daily candle, we've got a inside day. It's a lower high, a higher low. We closed in under a bearish trap, under the fading 17. Put that with the scratch line up there. Price action is on the daily candle is still bullish. We're still in the upper third right here. Let's take this off. Okay, so we're still in the upper third, but we're moving down. Okay, we're in an uptrend, but we're moving down. So still in upper third right here, but moving down on price action for SPY. So daily still in an uptrend. So the weekly still in an uptrend. Haven't made any lower lows. And monthly still in an uptrend. Haven't made any lower lows there. So what did we trade today for SPY? Well, right out of the gate, we had a 10-minute uptrend right through here. All right, so I traded a 10-minute uptrend, actually a 5-minute uptrend right through here. Price action, you want to see the guidance on that, was right here. Bearish activity observed, prices retraced lower, erasing more than 50% of that afternoon bounce that we got yesterday. Plan to trade a 5-minute uptrend over 736.25, preferably to 745 call wall and possibly 748.20. Now, there's no guarantee we get to the call wall or 748.20, but that's the plan this morning. And you can see right here, 7 was over 730. Pull that back up one more time. Price over 736.25. Okay, so 736.25 was right. Wow, way up here. I don't think I printed that right. Anyways, probably wanted it right up here, right over 7. Probably would have wanted one right over this. That would have been green erases red right over this, 734.50. Okay, that would have been more like it, 734.50. We had an uptrend. I don't know why I put 736.25. But anyways, traded the 5-minute uptrend right through here. We got the igniting candle and traded that on up to. Gap fill was the first target, 737.13, and then the next target up, you can see we didn't get anything else above that. Okay, so we managed to fill the gap, and then you can see price action came back down through. So we rolled over, we traded puts underneath. Okay, so on the put side, we traded price fails. I'll look for 5-minute downtrend below 731, and I want to take that down to yesterday's market low. So let's look for 731, and we'll put that up right here. Okay, so there's 731, a little bit lower, right about right there. Okay, so we got a 10-minute downtrend, traded that 5-minute downtrend all the way down to this area down here, which happens to be about 725.32. So got that 5-minute downtrend. Spent a lot of time right here moving sideways, and then finally we got a failed breakout to the upside, and then finally that thing flushed all the way down. Again, I'm going to say that dealers had price held up due to they had quite a big position in gamma puts, all right, and there was very little gamma calls. So it took it a while to get down there to the 725, 724 area due to the dealers, wanting to alleviate all of their positions or clean up their gamma exposure first. And there was a bearish squeeze, but it didn't squeeze. If you notice on the squeeze, finally the squeeze broke, and it wasn't until, what time is that? About 3 o'clock, okay? And then finally the bearish squeeze came in. We were able to break through the support right here at 728.35. All right, you got the picture of money would be on the 10-minute chart. You can see the 8 EMA and the distance between the 8 EMA and the VWAP just gets wider and wider right through there. Now, if you're on a 15-minute chart, pretty much stayed in this the whole time. If you were on a 5-minute chart, you got dinged out right here, or dinged out there, or there, or there. But if you notice, price was going up and then dipping, going up and dipping. And I kind of said it's probably doing this back and forth. And what that tends to lead to is a flush to the downside. And here is all of that. If I put it on the 2, you can see it a little bit easier. See, up, down, up, down, up, down. This is them rebalancing. That's the dealers rebalancing. And then eventually you get the flush when the dealers have finally rebalanced everything that they need to do. Finally, you get the breakdown down here to 724. All right, so yeah, thank you. Anyways, there's SPY. Just took it a while, and you had to be willing to be patient, really. And the 10-minute trend, okay, on the 10-minute trend, you kind of got dinged out right there. But if you knew to kind of look back and see the 15, price was still fading underneath through all of this. And if you kind of knew like to kind of stick with it, we're still under VWAP. We're not making any higher highs. Kind of stick with it. You could have traded this to the downside unless you got dinged out right there. But all in all, after rolling over, it's kind of evident today that they were going to probably head lower due to some of the bearish activity we saw in the post market yesterday, and the bearish in the pre-market this morning. You can see the bearish activity on the 15 right here. We close all the way up here, and then price is down here, and then of course they left off at 8 o'clock there. Start the morning at 4, and we even go lower than that. Only to bounce on some support, same support that we were kind of levitating while they were cleaning up or rebalancing everything. And then we got a little 5-minute uptrend, which took us up to the gap fill, and that's about it from there. After gap fill, we kind of rolled over. All right, so that's what we traded. Mostly puts on that 1700 that I made today. Not an easy day because it was like up, and then it was down, and then this little bit of fake out. You didn't know if they were going to go higher or if they were finally going to flush, like I was talking about, them rebalancing right through here. See, up, down, up, down, up, down. And that tends to lead to that push to the downside. And you can see the lows, the highs kind of like lower high, lower high, lower high, kind of flushing there. And then this one came in, kind of throw you off, throw you off your rhythm right there. But if you kind of watched it and kind of stuck with it, you got back in for all of this right here. So there's SPY on the 3-minute chart, but on the 10-minute, coming into the close, 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. Where do I think we're going? I actually think we're going to the origin of the rally, which started back in March, late March, the anchored VWAP that comes off the origin of the move. So let's take a peek at that so you can see where it is. So we'll start on a 2-hour chart. All right, and you can see this would be the origin of the move because this is late March all the way up there. So I think we're going to pull back to that number right there. Preferably, I'd like to see us pull back to minor support. You guys, most people know here in the BYOB, my favorite trade is to see price rip, pull back to minor support, J-hook off of it, and make a higher high. We'll see, all right? That would be a drop all the way back to the 700 area. Currently, on the daily chart, well, on the 2-hour chart, that anchored VWAP is residing at 713. So where's 713 in relation to the minor support? Now, it doesn't have to come all the way back to 697 because there were some days in the pre-market, post-market that were up close to 700 that weren't necessarily documented because they were in pre-market, post-market, or they were in late overnight action. So somewhere around 700. But currently, you can see where 712 is. That's not that far away. They could put in a big long tail down into like 701, 700, and then kind of like retract it back, within, 30 minutes, put in a big tail down and then come all the way back up, and then start their way back up towards the highs. Again, we'll see, all right? But so this is where I think we're coming, and it kind of looks that way. Got a H pattern rollover, H pattern rollover, and 712.97, basically 713. So we'll see how far they get to this tomorrow. You can see in the post market, we're already down to 724. Yesterday's low was 722.50 something or 60 something. All right, right there. So we had an inside day on the daily candle. Again, we got a lower high, higher low, closed under a bearish trap. You can see how close we are to the 713. All right, and this daily candle was, well, it started at 739 and went all the way to 724. So 729 would be $10. All right, and then another $5 from 729 to 724. That was a $15 candle. This one was a $25 candle, 722, and that's clear on up to 747.21 up there. Okay, so $25 candle, $15 candle. Easily, could we do a $13 candle from 724 all the way down to 713? That would only be an $11 candle, really. Yeah, I think that's in the works. I do think we're coming down to this, the low anchored VWAP. Make sure that's where it's supposed to be. Yeah, right there. 710.83. Got moved around there for a minute. 710, 710.56, 710.83. All right, so that's that would be close to a $13 candle if price is at 724. Okay, so there's SPY on the daily chart. That's where I think we're coming, and you can see where it kind of lines up. The high for tomorrow kind of lines up on top of all of this base right through here. See this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days right there. That base kind of lines right up with that. So I think if we don't get there tomorrow, we're probably going to get there Friday. Although SpaceX is supposed to report start trading on Friday, so I think there's a high possibility that we're here tomorrow sometime. Late day, early day, not sure. I would suspect they probably want to tag it by 1:30 or so, do the and then start working their way back up into the close. In other words, retracing the pullback into that origin of the move anchored VWAP. All right, so you definitely want to if they hit any of this up here at 697, definitely going to be probably a $10 to $15 bounce off of there. I mean, look at the bounce that we got on yesterday. Okay, yesterday's bounce was 722.50 on up to 736. That's like a $14, $15 bounce yesterday. So, do I think we'll get a $15 bounce if we tag this? Oh yeah, I think maybe even more. All right, so keep an eye on price action. Again, I still think we're coming here, and I still think we hit this shelf. And I don't know if they're going to do an exploratory tail candle right into the top of this area here. All right, so this is an area. So I mean, they don't quite have to hit 700 or 701. They just have to kind of spike it into that area, and then you'll probably see bulls step in, like stink on crap, and probably chase it all the way back up like $15 because you saw this. That was a $15 pop yesterday. Well, they didn't even get to minor support, so just picture what would happen if they actually touched minor support or even got close to it, the rip that you would see in the price action. All right, just getting you prepared for that flip or that reversal that will probably take place right on top of this area right here. Anywhere in here, probably $4 to $5 within the highs of this, it could manifest. So you got 698 at $5. That'd be 703. Okay, so 703 down to 698. Okay, area that probably good chance of a rip-in $15, $14 reversal, just a huge push. You'll probably see nothing but green candles on the 15-minute chart. All right, so I'm just preparing you for that for tomorrow. I think that's going to happen. I don't know, but I got a hunch they're going to put in the exhaustion candle. You know how at the end of those exhaustion candles, it's a big, long tail, and I think the tail presses into 702, 703. We'll see what happens. All right, but I'm just guessing here, but that would be normal price action from what I've seen, and I've traded a long time, so that would be a normal candle at the end of this harsh down move that we got. All right, so we'll see what happens with that. Again, bullish on the weekly and monthly, still bullish on the daily, still in an uptrend. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay, let's take a look at QQQ. All right, QQQ on the 10-minute chart first. Start on the 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. You can see obviously the sticks and the 3. That's the yellow line plotting underneath the 8 here, the falling 8. So 10-minute, you got daylight between the 3 and the 8. 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. 2-hour, again, sticks in the 3 EMA, plotting underneath the falling 8 again. Okay, daylight between the 3 and the 8. 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. On the daily candle, got an inside day. Higher low, lower high, closing underneath. Bearish trap underneath flat 17. Put it on the scratch lines. We're up here. We're bullish. We're in the upper third. And we're still in an uptrend because we haven't made any lower lows yet on QQQ. So weekly, bullish in an uptrend. Monthly, bullish in an uptrend. Remember, the origin of this rally starts back at the end of March. Okay, see? Let me review it one more time. See, the origin is March. It's the beginning of April. Put the crosshairs on. That's probably April 1st right there. Well, no, that's probably April 1st. So this is probably 30th, 31st for March. You can see, so here's the origin. Last day of the month for March. Yeah, you can see 331. Okay, and we start to do the reversal right there. So nice rip up. Probably get a pullback. Hopefully get some minor support right here. And then reverse back up there in the other direction. So that's QQQ on the daily chart. So be ready for that reversal probably tomorrow or Friday. All right, we'll see what happens. All right, so there's QQQ on the daily. Weekly, again, daily, you can see we're in the upper third, bullish and in an uptrend. Weekly, bullish and in an uptrend. Monthly, bullish and in an uptrend still. Okay, let's take a look at Diamond Dow. We'll look at it on the daily chart. All right, daily candle, lower high, lower low, closing in a bearish trap under the flat 17, still in the upper third. That's bullish. They have not made a lower low. All right, so this is the low to be. They have not done it yet. So they're still bullish, still in an uptrend. Diamond Dow, IWM. All right, IWM inside day. And now everybody doing inside days, lower high, higher low. Closing in a bearish trap under the 17. Bottom of quadrant 4, that's bullish. No lower low, so still in an uptrend. Bullish and in an uptrend for IWMs. Take a look at FNGU. FNGU is neutral. It's down here at the bottom, the top of quadrant 2. You can see, again, an inside day just like the others. Lower high, higher low, closed under a bearish trap. Under the fading 17 EMA. All right, down here at the midpoint. Okay, so FNGU neutral. And in a downtrend, because we got a little low that comes below the 17 right there. And you can see we took out that low. So neutral, but in a downtrend for FNGU. Let's take a look at precious metals. All right, silver, lower high, lower low, closed under a bearish trap, under the 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP. You can see all of the lows. We are having a breakdown in silver. Okay, so price right here for silver is neutral and in a downtrend for silver. Okay, neutral because notice we're not in the upper third, not in the lower third. We're in the middle ground here. Okay, and we're making lower lows, so we're in a downtrend. Neutral and in a downtrend. Origin of silver, again, of this all-time high rally, starts back 2022, if you want to see. Probably right about there. That's about September, all right, of 2022. All right, let's take a look at gold. Here's gold, lower high, lower low, no longer in the upper third, so that's neutral. Got a low, making a lower low, so neutral and in a downtrend. You can see gold kind of in the middle of quadrant 3, underneath that all-time high anchored VWAP. So gold neutral and in a downtrend for gold on the daily chart. All right, let's take a look at USO. All right, USO got a higher low, higher high, closed over bearish trap, closed under flat 17 or fading 17. Bottom of quadrant 4, it's going to be bullish up there. Don't forget, they haven't made a higher high since making this lower low. So they're still in that downtrend, but they're not moving down. Okay, they're in a downtrend, but they're kind of melting up or over to the right. So there's USO daily chart. They made a lower low. One's low here. This one's lower. So they're bullish, but in that dysfunctional downtrend. Let's take a look at UNG. All right, UNG today is outside day. Lower low, higher high, closed inside a bearish trap over the flat 17. Middle of quadrant 1. Let me pan out so you can see this. Okay, quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a 14-month high anchored VWAP. All right, so we're underneath that. So we're bearish because we're in the lower third, but we're still in an uptrend because we haven't made lower lows. Okay, so if we took out that low, all right, we'd have lower lows. Still moving, melting up. So UNG, uptrend for UNG, but still bearish because we're down here in the middle of quadrant 1. Again, there's quadrant 4. This is quadrant 1, okay? By the way, that is the all-time high right there. And this could probably be classified as a double bottom right there. See the valley and another valley right there, UNG. All right, let's take a look at internals. All right, technicals. T2101, all right, a little bit more participation on the possible bounce today. That's a good sign that we're getting more participation. We didn't move lower, so that's good that there's participation coming in for the bounce. Probably the SpaceX IPO that's probably going to get start to be traded on Friday or Monday. We'll see. T2101, that's a bullish sign there. T2122, we spent the majority of the day. Look at this. This is crazy. In the buy zone, a little bit in the overbought zone, and most of the day in the buyer's chop zone, and a little meltdown at the end of the day to close. Once again, inside the seller's chop zone. Okay, so I'm going to call this bullish. I don't like the ending, but I do like the results. All right, I like, kind of sad they didn't make a higher high. Okay, right there. But they made an equal high. But they did spend the day. All right, they did spend the majority of the day above the gold line. All right, until the last, I don't know, 30, 60 minutes right there. So that's bullish clue for me right there. T2123. Okay, got a bullish gap up that got filled by the bears later in the day. We got a high. They made a higher high. All right, so they did not make a lower low. So that's spent the majority of the day above the flat 200. That's a bullish. That's where you want to be if you're a bull. Don't like the ending of the day, just like T2122. But I do like the higher high. I do like spending the a majority of the day over the 200. Another bullish clue there. So that is bullish and in an uptrend. I can slap the quad lines on there. You can see that's up there in quadrant 4. See, middle of quadrant 4. And we're making higher highs. And I zoomed in and I show you those higher highs. There's a high. There's a higher high. Okay, so another note, remember I pointed out this morning that this high actually cleared all of this 2 weeks of consolidation. Well, this high right here just cleared that high right there. So looks like money's going to start flowing back into the NYSE based on what I'm kind of looking at. T2101, you notice participation increasing. All right, T2122, spending the day over the midpoint. That would be the gold line. the majority of the day. T2123 up over the 200 SMA, and you once again making that higher high. So we could look for, if we do sell off, I think it will be fast and quick. Look for that reversal tomorrow. Okay, T2123, 15-minute chart, bullish. All right, and in an uptrend because they haven't made lower lows. All right, 3-bar chart. It's going to be, obviously, you're up here in quadrant 4. That was a prior all-time high. That's the recent all-time high. We got 2 all-time highs for 2026. We got one here, and we got a new one right here. So this is bullish quadrant 4, and we haven't made a lower low. That would be the low to take out, and we haven't made a lower low. So that's bullish and in an uptrend still on T2123 3-bar. FNGU, see what they did today. Okay, so they closed here. So we had a bearish gap down, and it looks like the bulls never filled the gap all day. Look at that right there. So we've got a low, and we made lower lows. So that's downtrend for FNGU, and then we're underneath that 200, and we're down here in quadrant 2. So that's neutral and in a downtrend, kind of like the daily chart there. Okay, so neutral, still in a downtrend on FNGU. On the US dollar index, did we finally break out into the consolidation area right through here? Okay, notice we've got a peak and a consolidation zone between the two of them. This is major support if you're above it, and this is minor support if you're above it. Okay, and we had a 6-month downtrend on the daily chart, making lower highs and lower lows. So 6-month downtrend, that makes the flag pole. And then we transition into a 10-month bear flag, down and over to the right. And we've tried 5 or 6 times to break into the consolidation zone after breaking through the major support. And we've had no luck, all right? That minor resistance overhead. Currently, we're in a daily uptrend. We have a high right here. We've been making higher highs. And we have another high being built right here. You can see we tried once there, once there, once there, once there. We're getting ready to try. I hope that wasn't a failed break-in. And once here, okay? So we'll see what happens. They're trying to break back into that consolidation zone. Truthfully, I hope they don't. I like the weak dollar because it helps with bringing more revenue to the top line on the companies here at the homeland, all right, in the USA. All right, so I really don't want a strong dollar because all that's going to do is not make us competitive. That will increase the price, all right, and that the conversion rate for them to convert their currency to ours will make them not actually going to cost them more of their currency. So I don't want a strong dollar. I kind of want a weak dollar, but it is what it is. You know, the Fed has to combat inflation as well. All right, so there's the U.S. dollar index still in a daily uptrend right there. All right, so where's Robert? I got some. Is he around? Got some charts he wants to look at. Looking. All right, take your time. GEO and CXW breakouts. Okay, on the daily chart here, GEO. Yeah, nice breakout there. That happened a week ago. That's not at the all-time high, obviously. We're not far from the all-time high. Take this off. Let's look for support over here. All right, so I see something happening right there. All right, I see a lot happening right there. I don't even know where it has to do over here. I see something happening right here, right there. Okay, and then of course you got these two peaks right there. Okay, a lot happening right here, right on that shelf, and right underneath this consolidation right here. So let's go look at the chart over there to see where we're at. Okay, so you busted into or through resistance, all right? Right there, so that was resistance. See how it held that candles down right there and all these wicks, so you got through. So this needs to hold up there. Okay, erasing 100% of that candle for me, I would not want to be in it. All right, if they lose all of that candle, I would rather just close it out and see where it wanders to, because it very well could reverse right up here. All right, but so I need them to get up here and hold this area. You know what? I would probably put it on a 2-day and include both of those candles. Okay, so I wouldn't want to get below this candle tail right there. Okay, that shows me where the buyers stepped in. So if I got below that and buyers weren't stepping in, that would be a red flag for me. Okay, but I want to see it now consolidate up here between this. Probably even move over to the right for a couple weeks. And don't let that scare you. As long as it stays up there, all right, and consolidates between the two lines. I mean, even better if it decides to continue on up and consolidate on top of this one. I'm not putting it past it to not do that, because it just might do that. All right, but at a minimum, I want to see it consolidate up here. At a minimum, I do not want to let it lose more than 26.11. All right, so other than that, I would want to take my profits before it got below 26.01, 26.11 area. What is the low of that candle? 26.06, okay? Below 26.06 right there. So nice job on holding on the breakout. I don't know how long you held on to it, but traders look at the patience it takes to get a winner like that. That's multiple days there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's 15 days right there. All right, traders, of waiting. That's a long time. All right, to be holding up here and hoping it's not going to roll over. Okay, so that's incredible patience, incredible fortitude. All right, nice work. You got it up there. All right, now you cannot, don't lose underneath that tail. Okay, that's the object. You want to see it consolidate up here. Okay, you can't help whatever it does, but I'm just saying I wouldn't want to let it lose more than that tail, because that's where the buyers stepped in before. Okay, so let's take a look at CXW. Okay, let me look over to the left. Looks like we were on this one before. Obviously, you're up through resistance finally. Now we want to see it consolidate over to the right or pull back and J-hook off of it. Let's look over to the left over here. Lots of stuff going on there. Okay, so for a target for this one, and I'd be proud of this target if I got this target. See the valley peak, the valley low between these two peaks. Okay, from actually from 2014. So whatever that is right there. And I'm not saying it can't go higher, but I'd be real proud if I got it all the way up there, and I was still in it. Okay, that low is 30.37. Okay, so 30.37, and you're not far from it. But these candles, these candles are getting kind of long and exhaustion-like looking. But let's put this up here. 30.33. All right, 30.36. All right, that would be a great number, and that would be a normal place for price to stop, right there at that valley between the two peaks, right there, and it'll probably pull back $2 or $3, maybe even $5 or $6, once hitting that. Because look at all of the price action on either side of that valley. Okay, you see on those two peaks right there. And because of all of that data and all of that prior price action, that winds up being a very strong resistance when you get there. Okay? Just prepping you so when you do get there, you're not surprised. All right? Because you've got a lot of price action on both sides. And you measure the strength of a valley or a peak based on the number of candles, all right, on each side. And you can see there's an incredible amount. There's years of price action on each side of these, okay? So that will be a beast to get through right there, all right? But if you happen to get on top of it and consolidate, wow, you got a real good chance of taking out the highs. Right there, the recent highs for the the new millennium. Well, past 1999. Okay, if you got up there, this thing was around when the .com. This was one of those .com stocks. All right, that got way over embellished and came down hard. And wow, what a recovery to last that long. Anyways, right there, if you got to that would be like big kudos. And if you got up to those high, if it gets on top of that, look at them going after that all-time high up there for the new millennium. That would be 2001 on up to 2026, right there. Again, 30.37 is an area. All right, so like 30.25 or 30.20, I'd start looking to see if any bearish candles are showing up when you get there. All right, and SPHR, AMC is good. I'll do that one right now. Okay, so here's AMC doing the hook right here. AMC looks like it's going to go to, see that valley low right here? 250. I think it's good for 250. And even more, I think it's probably good for I actually think it's good for $3. Okay, you see that would be resistance overhead right here and right there. So good for close to $3. All right, and that's bullish. You got the higher low, made a higher high, came back, made a higher low. Question is it going to make a higher high again? Now, when it gets up here, it's probably going to move to the right up at these highs. Either that or blast through and then pulls back, tags the minor support. Look how the dip tagged this peak right there. See how that dip? That is a pullback minor support and then rip. Now we don't need to see it make the higher high. This does This is doing exactly what I like it to do. Okay, you see, pull up, take out the high, pull back, find the minor support. Maybe it wasn't this, but here it is here, and then rip up there. So how low was that? Yeah, 173. Okay, so taking out the high. So this is looking good. Just need it to not break. Again, this one, not break 173. Below 173 would be a deal breaker underneath that. Okay, especially after breaking out of this consolidation right here on the 4-hour chart. Okay, so this is looking good. This is bullish. You're up here at the highs. Again, remember, they took profit here before. They may take profit here again, okay? But as long as it kind of holds the highs up here over 180, 190, and moves to the right between 180, 190, and 210 or 215 area is looking good. Hopefully they lean on the 210, 215 and start to work their way in up top there, okay? So there's AMC. That's bullish in an uptrend. You can take the quad lines. Quadrant 4, that's bullish. Okay, you're in an uptrend right there. Okay, so bullish in an uptrend on AMC. Cocoa and SPHR. Cocoa. Okay, Cocoa, let's take a look. Daily chart. Cocoa breaking out over the top. It's kind of peeking up out of the turret and looking around. Okay, not quite there yet. Need some follow through. Big green candles, you know what they need? Follow through. Big green candles need follow through. Either that or like this big green candle, some type of bullish consolidation over to the right. Okay, that's what big green candles need. Okay, see this? If you stacked all, you could stack all of these one on top of the other almost. If you erased all of the tails and wicks, and you would come up with a big green candle. Okay, see that? If you took out the wicks and the tails, you could probably take these cylinders and stack them up one on top of each other, and you see they probably come up to the same spot. So that sometimes they break the one big candle up into smaller chunks because they don't want to alert the masses. All right, believe me, dealers don't like it when everybody's in. They like it when it's time to sell, but when they're trying to move it up, they don't want a lot of resistance. All right, so they don't like to make big moves. They try to like kind of dip their toes in, all right, to kind of not make big waves. All right, they're whales, but they don't want to make big waves. Okay, because then you know where they are. That's why you don't want to. So here you got a big candle. So I'll be looking for some consolidation, bullish consolidation, or some follow through, one or the other. Okay, wouldn't want to lose that big candle. Wouldn't want to lose 100% of that big candle right there. So my stop would probably be, 30 cents under the low of that tail. All right, and based on what I see tomorrow, I'd probably move it up to 1/3 or 1/2 up there. All right, it's very possible they come back, tag this wick, and then rip up tomorrow. We'll see. Okay, but I would want to see some follow through, some bullish follow through, or consolidation up here over to the right. That's Cocoa SPHR. Nice consolidation right there. Bullish consolidation. That looks like, yeah, that's all-time highs. This one, you just got to have the patience. You got to double top. You've seen the double top. They don't seem to be exiting the area. All right. So, there's your support right there. So I would draw a line like this. Okay. And you got to be careful when you're using rubber band candles, okay? Because you could get a spike candle that happens to be $20 long, okay? But for the most part, I would say I would not want to break, this would be my point of interest, the rubber band candle on the daily chart for this support line, okay? You can spike it, but I want to see bulls push it back up. In other words, if you have a candle that closes underneath it, I want the very next day to be green and erase what the bears just did. Okay? Right there. So definitely wouldn't want to get below that right there. Below 126. Okay, below this big green candle, that would definitely be a deal breaker. Nice consolidation up here at the highs. I got to say, you got 1, 2. Give it some time. I think you may get a new all-time high once SpaceX comes out pretty soon. I think everybody's going to hit some new highs. I think we're going to see a lot of new highs once they come out. There's a possibility. Or they could just be a vacuum and suck all of the attention and capital into their move. All right? It's one of those two things. All right? So this is obviously bullish and in an uptrend. You heard me, right? All right. Is there a question? Good? Okay. You're welcome. All right. All right. Tomorrow's going to be an interesting day. Are we going to go for the all-time, the origin of the move anchored VWAP? Okay. Or based on all the tea leaves that we're looking at, all right, bullish. Look at this, even in the overbought zone sometime today. Bullish, new higher high over here in the consolidation. Bullish up over the flat 200 and not so bullish right here. Okay, but based on everything else, looking bullish for tomorrow. But it's definitely not what we're seeing coming into the close on the SPY. We have ourselves 10-minute downtrend down here. So we'll see. Maybe we wind up opening up down here at 710 and we just rally up. Maybe there's a big gap down and we just rip to the upside. We'll see what happens. Okay, because a lot of bullish clues. Bulls brought that up. The Bulls brought that up. We'll see what happens. Maybe we gap down and the Bulls buy it up again. All right, we'll see what happens. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow, 8 o'clock. We'll do it again.